USAA knows dynamic duos can save the day, like superheroes and sidekicks or auto and home insurance. With USAA, you can bundle your auto and home and save up to 10%. Learn more and get a quote at usaa.com/bundle. Restrictions apply.
At the Hyundai Getaway Sales Event, get deals so right, it almost feels wrong. Now's the best time to get that Hyundai you've always wanted. Plus, every new Hyundai comes with America's Best Warranty and 3 years or 36,000 miles of limited complimentary maintenance. Don't think you can get away with all that? Think again. The Hyundai Getaway Sales Event. Visit your local Hyundai dealer today. It's a great day for a new Hyundai.
By the way, I realized that I have a large mole on my face.
Where? What? Where's that mole? I didn't see one.
I also realized the irony that I am myself a mole.
No one would make that connection.
Anyway, well done, old chap. Jolly good work.
Yes, nice to mole you. Meet you. Nice to meet you, mole. Don't say mole.
Hello and welcome to Unequal Sequel. My name is Dave and I'm one of the two hosts of this overbearing podcast.
And I'm Rich and I'm the other host of this overbearing podcast. Think of me as Thor to Dave's Loki, because I'm the muscle-bound guy wielding a hammer and he's a mischief maker.
Brilliant. The premise of Unequal Sequel is very simple. We ask our guests their best ever sequel, their worst ever sequel, and finally their dream sequel.
And of course, sometimes we'll drift off, talk about other things, sometimes movies, and sometimes life in general.
And sometimes we do drop big fat spoilers, and this is by accident. Believe us on that. So if that happens, press pause or flick forward. Go change the window wipers on the car. You've been putting off for ages now. Do it. On today's episode, we are joined by Matthew Crosby.
Matthew is an incredible comedian. He's a stand-up comedian. Go and see his shows. He is also a brilliant writer and a podcaster, and he presents the Sunday morning show on Radio X with Ed Gambe.
We're very excited to sit down with Matthew and chat all things sequels with him.
These are Matthew Crosby's Unequal Sequels. Enjoy.
So we got a quick cheeky question at the beginning, which is, what is the first sequel you ever remember seeing and getting excited about?
This is a really good question because I think it actually might be one of the ones I've chosen.
Oh no.
Okay.
So, would you want me to say a different answer so I can talk about a different film?
Yeah, if you can. The second sequel you ever got.
I should have told you I've seen 3 films in my entire life.
And they all happen to be...
yeah. 2 of them happen to be sequels, which is a mistake. And one of them doesn't have a sequel. But I felt like I needed more. Yeah. What is the, well, I think probably around the same time that, the film I'm going to talk about came out, Ghostbusters 2 came out. So I think that's probably, if I'm looking at a sequel that I saw before any others, I'm really racking my brains. I mean, probably actually it was like American Tail, Fievel Goes West. If I'm going to drill down even sort of further into it, but I'm sort of thinking about
This is what we do.
Yeah, this is a good question because I'm really having to go into my mind palace. Maybe it was American Tail, Fievel Goes West, because that's the sequel to American Tail, right?
Yes. And it's mad because the first one's like Holocaust, and then the second one's like a really weird Western film. What year is Fievel Goes West, Rich?
I'm pretty sure
because
it was like
Ghostbusters 2 was 89. The other one will not be mentioned until later. Is also
that's also 89, isn't
89.
Yeah.
So 89 was a big year. Batman was 89 as well. The first Tim Burton.
It was 91. Fievel Goes West.
In which case, then I was seeing Ghostbusters because I went and saw Ghostbusters 2 in the cinema. So it isn't that. So what? There's got to be one of the. Short Circuit 2. I saw that before, because I saw that before I saw Short Circuit 1. There was that thing of if it was in the cinema. So I saw 3 Men and a Little Lady before I saw 3 Men and a Baby. And I saw Short Circuit 2 before I saw Short Circuit 1.
Oh, wow. You've done
that
this
was
the wrong way
thing,
around.
wasn't it? Like, I saw loads of things the wrong way around. Loads of things I saw the sequels before the actual main thing.
Because what you've got to realise is, and I know this now because I have little kids. I don't know if you guys have got kids.
Yes,
but,
I do, yeah.
Yeah, you realise they don't know what's going on minute to minute in any film, even films they love.
No,
you know, it's like that. The next stage is getting to be able to explain what the plot of a film is. You know, that's just what they just like things to happen. They see it as a sort of series of like little vignettes.
Yes, yeah, and I think I've pretty much raised a monster. I think in terms of his film taste, because
How old is yours?
He's 10, and
Right.
he told me that Attack of the Clones is the best film he's ever seen.
No,
I've
what's happened
failed.
there?
I've failed as a parent.
10 though was the age, I think, so he might just be getting into this now. 10 was the age when I remember not liking a movie.
Oh,
Yes,
okay.
he has had that actually.
Which blew my mind. I remember finishing watching a movie, and it's a movie I've since gone back to.
You can tell us what it is. What is it?
Yeah, it was Teen Wolf, and I've since gone back to it and gone, I don't know what I was thinking. Well, I know what I was thinking, but we'll get to that in a second. But I remember finishing watching it and then going upstairs to my mum and saying to her, something odd's happened. I've not enjoyed a movie. And she was like, yeah, that's, you know, she didn't use the phrase critical faculties, but she sort of basically explained to my 10-year-old brain what having taste is. But I think what it was too sexy and it confused me.
Oh.
Okay. It is quite sexy, Teen Wolf, isn't it?
It's like weirdly sexy. It's like in the way that like a lot of movies from the 80s were, they would just like casually, you know, like somebody would just, you know, get their boobs out and run around for a bit in probably quite a silly, cartoonish way. But I think all of the bit about 7 Minutes in Heaven and all of that kind of stuff. I remember watching that and going, I don't know what I'm feeling here. I don't know what am I, you know, something's going on. It's not what I normally get it's not what I got from Five Will Goes West. This is more like Blood Goes South. But yeah, it was tricky. I remember coming away from it going, oh, that's a bit
brilliant,
worrying.
Did you ever watch Teen Wolf 2?
With Jason Bateman? No, I feel like I was so anti Teen Wolf as a kid. Okay. That's like, why would I put myself through?
It's much worse. It's so much worse. It's very bad.
Teen Wolf was like, Teen Wolf. No, am I right in thinking that like he used his powers to do a handstand on a van?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So he didn't go and like do any of the typical werewolf type stuff. He didn't go on a murderous rampage. It didn't even seem like that was in his nature. No, it wasn't like he was fighting against it.
Yeah, it just basically showed off. Yeah.
Yeah,
got a load of hair. He got a load of hair and was he a bit stronger than he was? I don't know, because the other scene I really remember is when his dad shows up. Like he's in the bathroom, like growing all this hair, and his dad shows up, and he's also really, basically looks a bit like me. You know, he's just got hair all over his face. He's like, yeah, this is something that our family has. Yeah. But it doesn't seem like. It just seems like it's more inconvenient.
Yeah, it made him really good at basketball, I seem to remember.
Yeah, you can like but wasn't it that like was he good at basketball, or was everyone scared of playing basketball justifiably against a werewolf?
Quite possibly, yeah.
So it made him intimidating. He could have been good at lots of different things because no one was willing to say, actually you're not good at this, we just don't want you to eat one of us.
Yeah. Did the girls find him sexier as a wolf as well?
Yeah, I think so. I remember there being a scene where a girl had her, like the back of her blouse all torn up, and it was like she'd clearly been getting off with a wolf.
That's the 7 Minutes in Heaven bit.
I think that might even be 7 Minutes in Heaven, yeah. And I think that I remember seeing that and thinking, I just don't, you know, I'm not ready to process this.
No. Had you so? Where's my question going?
Had I got into a wardrobe with a girl at that stage? No, I hadn't. No. Had I had to hold the Jello? No.
Isn't there a famous thing about Teen Wolf in the credits that there's a man with his cock out, and there's like he's in the stands. He's in the stands of the basketball court, and they've completely left him in there or something. It's like an urban myth or something that's in there.
This is one of those things that like in the not even the early days of the internet, in the sort of like early 2000s, my favourite website was Snopes.
What is that?
I used to love Snopes. Do you remember Snopes?
No. What's
now, Snopes still exists, but it sort of exists in a world where it's a website which will debunk popular urban myths, or, but it was amazing. So there was a whole page on movies, and there was like, because The Rescuers had that topless lady in it. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And then there was supposed to be in The Night Sky, it spelled sex in The Lion King, but it actually spelled SFX. It just looked like sex.
And was the like sex.
It does look like sex, but it spells SFX because that nerds made it, and or at least that's what Snopes was telling me, and I choose to believe. And then there was another one about like the Little Mermaid's castle in the poster looked like it was made entirely out of penises. It's like an H.R. Geiger type thing.
I think I've seen that one as well.
Yeah, but you feel like Snopes would have had a page on "Does a man have his cock out at the end of Teen Wolf?"
Yeah, I'm sure it's Teen Wolf. I don't want to put that in the internet because
I'm going to Google it. I don't care. I think
I would literally. I think you should go for Snopes and Teen Wolf and see if there's any sort of.
There's also one in Aladdin when Aladdin whispers, "Take off all your clothes," and I it's there.
Yeah.
It's in the VHS. It's not in the DVD version.
Well, that's it. They cut out loads of those things because the topless lady from The Rescuers, that's gone. But it was a real frame of like they as a joke they'd put in, because you're never going to, this was it might have even been pre VHS Rescuers. Yeah. So and certainly VHS didn't have a perfect pause on it, as men of a certain age know. But anyone who had taped Trading Places off the television knows that. But the idea that it would never be seen. But then of course DVD comes along. I think a lot of people got caught out by the advent of DVD and the perfect pause.
You're like, finally the perfect pause. And come on, kids, let's watch Rescuers. I've got something to look at.
Yeah, I really want to see it when they're going past on an albatross's back in a tin can. You can see a lady taking her top off.
It's not there.
I can confirm 100% there is a guy with his trousers unzipped in Teen Wolf. I'm literally looking at a photo. You can't really see his cock, but he's definitely unzipped his fly and kind of opened his trousers. Absolutely, 100%.
This is the kind of madness I remember, but do you think I can remember what day the bins are? What bin it is?
No. But you got all this information at such a crucial age. When your brain was a proper sponge and it was just absorbing information, you were taking in all the wrong stuff. But I love those sort of things. There's the great one about the ghost in Three Men and a Little Lady. Or is it Three Men and a Baby, where people think there's a ghost in it?
The first one's a baby.
Yeah, and it's actually just a standee of Ted Danson. But the one that I think is fascinating is there was a story about one of the Munchkins from the original Wizard of Oz, the 1939 Wizard of Oz. One of the Munchkins, they said, had committed suicide by hanging himself from one of the trees, and that would make that Wizard of Oz like the most famous snuff film of all time. Of course, it's not true. What actually happened was one of the rare birds escaped and lands on the tree and it makes the tree wobble. But there was a big rumor going around that, it's because one of the Munchkins got depressed during the filming of the movie.
It wouldn't surprise me because the making of the Wizard of Oz is notoriously dark.
Yeah, there's some horrible stories. I mean, obviously, firstly, you've got Judy Garland at the centre of it. Her entire story is dark.
Yes.
Just being sort of drugged awake, drugged to sleep constantly by a studio that just wanted her to, I mean, I love Judy Garland. I think Judy Garland is amazing. It's a sad, sad story. But there's some really weird. I think, now, you have to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think on the day Judy Garland died, there was a tornado in Kansas. So there's like weird little details. But my favourite of all of them, that's on your Snopes. But my favourite of all of them was that they were looking around for a jacket for the Wizard of Oz, and they found a jacket. Now, someone told this to me. I'm gonna say it. You can look it up and debunk it immediately, but it's a good story. They were looking around for a jacket for the wizard. The fabulous green jacket he wears. And they couldn't find one anywhere. And then somebody found one in a thrift store, and they sort of brought it to costume and said, "Hey, here it is." And they looked inside and it said L. Frank Baum inside it. And someone was like, "Oh, very funny. You've put L. Frank Baum, who wrote the original book of The Wizard of Oz. You put his name in there as a little joke." But it turns out, no, they'd found his, and now I say it out loud, it can't be true. It did. Now, I probably haven't regurgitated this story for 20 years, but now I say it out loud, it sounds like, yeah. In fact, Rich, look it up, but don't tell us.
I'm going to look it up, and I will not say a word.
Because that's one of the more positive stories. Because didn't the Tin Man also apparently get cancer because of his costume? Or
I think he definitely had an allergic reaction to the makeup that was being used.
Something
I don't
mad
know if
like that. The Lion guy got all mad stuff like that. What is your best ever sequel, Matt?
I'm going to say the best ever sequel is Back to the Future 2. Now, has anyone picked this before? I'm assuming people have picked this before because it is the best ever sequel. So it's like, there's only one answer, exactly. There's only one answer. And I rewatched it, which I've not done for years. Weirdly, I think I've seen, in terms of like rewatches, I've seen the first one loads, but I think I've seen the third one more for like, more consistently over the course of since it was released. The third one's a lot of fun, but the second one is just like, in terms of taking, like, I just don't know. I don't know how they did it. I think that's what it is. It's like, I just think the plot's amazing. Every single moment you think, oh, they're just about to get away with it, or it's just about to go right for them. It's that classic thing of like, you take your protagonist, you chase them up a tree, and then you throw rocks at them. You just like the situation escalates and escalates and escalates, but it's still fun all the way through. And it's true to the first movie in a really sort of respectful way, and kind of basically takes you back to the first movie in a way that you really want. Lots of it is still set in the 50s, but people remember obviously the year 2015, futuristic year of 2015. And it just seems like there's so many things that just got absorbed into lore. Just like, people think about hoverboards. You've already done, the Flying DeLorean was classic from the first movie. It just will always be classic. It took a car that had a terrible reputation, was like seen as cool looking, but a piece of shit, constantly breaking down, and made it iconic forever. Yeah. Even people who don't know about cars will know about the DeLorean.
I think if you watched it with your dad at a young age, that's one of the first things you learn is that car's a piece of shit, son, basically.
Yeah. It may look cool. There's a reason most cars don't have the doors that open up like that.
Yeah.
It's because people were getting trapped in their cars, or they would drive into an alleyway and realize they can't open the doors.
I want one, though.
I want a DeLorean and I want a hoverboard. Everybody does. And
true.
It's great. It's brilliant. It's got everything you want of like mirroring the first one. It's obviously got the scenes from the first one from a different angle and reimagined. And it's got a really brilliant sci-fi plot about, the consequences of time travel.
Yeah.
That's really, yes, he has to get a blackboard out to explain what will happen if you do this thing and you'll jump around it. But it's worn very lightly in a way that doesn't, because I'm not like a big sci-fi nerd. And sometimes when they're saying, and now this has happened, and this has happened, and that's happened, and this has happened, you go, oh, you're just making all the rules up as you go along. It feels really logical. I think Carl Sagan says it's the best ever movie about time travel.
Well, yeah, it's the one that all films now base their time travel laws off, it seems, is Back to the Future.
I mean, I think we're actually going to talk about, time travel done badly in a little bit. But it's just, I mean, obviously, if you pull at that, the premise that if you change one thing, then that can change history forever. If you pull at that thread a bit too hard, he changes loads of stuff. In terms of like his interactions with Biff, because Biff sees some mad stuff. Biff is the only person who isn't in on the thing, who isn't in on it. He's not Jennifer, Marty, or Doc, who sees the flying DeLorean. He's the only other person who sees it. He sees multiple Marty McFlys. Admittedly, he's constantly getting, punched in the face, so could see it as some sort of delusion. But he sees a lot of the stuff that he shouldn't have seen, and yet we never really go back to Biff in the 1985 Biff and see what's happened to him.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you know what I mean? Like he's already someone who has clearly lived through trauma, right? When you see Biff's life, when you see his his grandma, he's living with his grandma. He looks like he's living in sort of certainly more poverty than a lot of his classmates. You know, you sort of see the reasoning behind Biff being.
Not many people come on the show and support
defend Biff. Well, for some reason, I think what's his name now? Tom. He's the guy, but Tom, is it Tom Wilson? Is that his name?
No, the guy that plays Biff.
It's
Tom Wilson.
It's Tom Wilson. Yeah, I think there is what makes Biff such a good character is there's tremendous humanity to Biff. I feel like he's a man who doesn't know how to interact with life. He can't, he's fundamentally broken even at an early age. And generationally, he's got trauma because all of his relatives, you've got his mad dog, who is obviously his relative. We think we're able to sort out our lives, but we can't sort out the lives of that's what it's kind of what Back to the Future is all about. In the first movie, he goes back to sort out the lives of his parents to make his life better. It's the thing that everybody wants to do. It's the reason people go to therapy, is to kind of process what their parents have been through. Biff doesn't have that. Biff doesn't have the time machine that allows him to go back and sort out his upbringing that makes him a better person. So I feel like I want to see, if I know we're not, I haven't picked it as the film I want to see a sequel for, but I feel like a Biff spin-off where you see how Biff survives 1985 to the present day would be fascinating, because he's been through stuff. And I know, I'm not defending him. He's a bad guy.
That is a Disney Plus TV series, Matt.
It is, isn't it?
It really is.
Picture that.
That's like Cobra Kai. That's Back to the Future's Cobra Kai.
But also, of course, there would be a Biff multiverse, because we know there's the Trump Biff as well that we see.
There is the Trump Biff, yeah.
And
how well did they do to predict Trump?
Well, I think in 1989, a man with a big tower and with his name on it was already a thing. But,
yeah, true.
But it's very Trump, isn't it? In the sort of the other, the other alternative 1985.
Yeah.
Did you?
But the other version of Biff is like there's no happy for Biff. He's either a complete lackey to George McFly. And you go, well, that doesn't seem like, that feels almost like George McFly is a bad guy. To be like, hey Biff, you better go and do my car. And you're like, it feels like, yes, you went to school, maybe you had a bad relationship at school, but surely you should be able to put that behind you as adults.
You did try to rape my wife, so...
Yeah. Well, yes, this is it, isn't it? It's mad that he's even hanging out with him at all. Me and Maddie even has him in the house. But you feel like he's this sort of weird cowed lackey figure in the end of the first movie, or he's this absolute maniacal megalomaniac in the second movie.
Yeah,
you just feel like he's a man who's doomed.
That's true. Can I slightly break your heart and tell you that someone has actually picked this as their worst sequel?
Oh yeah, by all means. They're wrong, but that's okay.
So we had
what did they say was their best sequel?
Winter Soldier, I think it was.
Yeah,
it was Tom Davis, wasn't it? So not Big Tom Davis, the comedian, but Tom Davis from the
Proper Mental
podcast. Yeah. But yeah, it was quite funny because
he's doing a good thing with his podcast, but
he's doing a very good thing with his podcast.
Around films.
Oh yeah, we couldn't get on board with that one. Normally we can, but
no, thank you.
No, but he picked it as worst, and then Anna Smith picked it as her best the next episode. So that was quite fun.
It's good to have balance, isn't it?
It's always amazing because these are the sequels that people pick up quite a lot, like the Aliens, the Terminator 2, and the Back to the Future 2. And I think, what angle can me and Rich talk something different? And we didn't need to. You didn't need to on this episode, so thank you very much.
It's a trilogy about Biff. Marty McFly, Doc Brown. These are ciphers to get you to the true story of what, the key scene, that what David Lynch would describe as the duck's eye of the scene is Biff leaving his grandmother's house.
Did you feel that way the first time you saw it in 1989? Which would have been your first sequel?
I was very empathetic. It was insane. I was a pathologically empathetic 9-year-old. Empathetic and sexually scared 9-year-old. And that's basically who I am now. It's just the number's different.
Had you seen the original at that point? Were you looking forward to that second Back to the Future?
Yeah, I was. It was. I'd seen the original on the television, so you get all of the fun of seeing the trailers on the BBC where they were saying, coming up in a few weeks' time, we're going to show you Back to the Future. That's very, very exciting. A sort of chopped up BBC trailer they'd made themselves. That was great. And then when it came out in the cinema, my parents said, we're going to go up, we're going to meet your dad out of work, and we're going to go into the West End to watch it in a West End cinema.
Wow.
And it was, I remember so many details, went and saw my dad in his office and met some of the people in his office. So I would have been 9 years old. Amazing. I would have had my Walkman. I remember I was listening to INXS's Kick on the way there because I was obsessed with that album. So It was a real 80s experience of going into the West End, probably walked through Piccadilly, saw the big Sanyo. It was a really thrilling time. And then went to the cinema and saw a film I was already
Do you remember the cinema, which one it was?
About. Now, I'm trying to think. My dad worked in Baker Street, so I wonder if it was the Screen on the Green, Baker Street, or that's that little one that's there. It might have been an ABC at the time. I don't know. My parents would know better, but actually they wouldn't. There's no way if I asked them what cinema did we see Back to the Future 2 in 1989, they'll say we didn't see Back to the Future 2 in 1989. I've got no memory of that. Yeah, exactly. A load of sandbags fell on your head and you woke up and it was all a dream. But yeah, no, I can't remember which cinema it was, but it was, I remember, I've got a really keen memory of that being just a really thrilling, I loved it. I still love it. I love taking my kids to the cinema, everything about it. I just love it. I think it's, what the trailers, whether you want to see the film or not, every bit of that's fun. And, I loved it.
Are your kids too young for Back to the Future at the moment?
Yeah. They're too young for Back to the Future.
What age are you aiming for? Because I know Rich has this dilemma about lots of films. Because sometimes he goes early. He goes early.
I went too early for Jurassic Park. He was only 4.
Oh no, too scary. Way too scary.
He wasn't scared at all. He was like, need more lawyers. Go with it.
Do you know what? Actually, there's the thing, because there is an age when they're not scared of anything. Yeah. They just watch out everything because they don't really...
Let's get RoboCop on.
Exactly, yeah. They love Audition. And then the next stage is when they start to kind of understand how the world works. And but I think, Jurassic, I'm saving everything. My kids are on a steady diet of the Emoji Movie. They love the Emoji Movie because it's got sort of almost no peril to it. And my daughter's not great with the thing she really can't handle. We were watching a My Little Pony movie this evening, and the thing she really can't handle is a scene which is awkward or embarrassing. Anything that is kind of cringy.
Okay. I can't do that still. I'm 41.
Yeah. And there was a bit when, like, one of the ponies was singing a song and their tail swished and it turned on a bank of tellies so everyone could see them singing this song, and Cleo was just no, fast forward through this bit. I can't handle it. She's just the idea of embarrassment. Okay. I mean, good luck. You got me as a dad, so better get used to get used to embarrassment, kid. To paraphrase Marty in the first one. So that's the thing she can't handle. But yeah, we watch all the like Frozen and Moana and Encanto, and we did. So yeah, we and in fact, actually, I think we did Moana 2 in the cinema before she'd seen Moana 1, just because it's in the cinema.
Oh, wow, yeah. Okay.
We saw Inside Out 2, but she'd already seen Inside. I mean, that, by the way, that is a movie which she and I got two very different things out of. She watched it and loved it, and I watched it like it was Audition. because and also that weirdly that's a sort of movie entirely based around social awkwardness. It's that but when she, spoiler alert if you've not seen it, it's absolutely brilliant, but when she has a panic attack, it's really, I found that really, really hard going. I was like, and I was like there, like, tears running down my cheeks, watching this poor little girl have a panic attack, sat next to my little girl. And I just looked at her and she's like, eating her way, like very, very happy. But I think what's different about Into That Too is that in the first movie, you're like, oh, these are all the emotions that you kind of feel when you can't really process your emotions, and they kind of level out a little bit. Whereas, ennui and embarrassment and boredom and anxiety especially, you get them and they don't go away.
No.
And they don't get better. Maybe they can get better a little bit, but they don't really get better. So you're like, it's not, whereas Inside Out 1 is a snapshot of what it's like to be a child. Inside Out 2 is a snapshot of what it's like from 14 to death.
Yeah.
So that's what I found so hard about it. It's like, oh yeah. It's not like, I remember what it was like when I was really anxious. You go like, yeah, that's now. I remember when my anxiety started.
Yeah. I watched it with my little boy, and my little boy has autism. Right. And the point where anxiety's like whizzing around and can't stop, he just sort of went, that is how it feels. And I was like,
wow.
oh God, dude. So like that movie like floors me a bit now. Like, yeah. He's like, that's what happens in my head. Like, and I was like, oh, okay, mate. And so he kind of like really hit him. You really got him.
I think that's what's so amazing about it. Is it clearly? I mean, that's why it is such a massive success. Is because so many people watch it and go, "Oh yeah, they put a character to these things I feel all the time."
Mm. And I'd watched it. He doesn't do the cinema because it's too like overstimulating. So I'd watched it on my own in the cinema because we were reviewing it for this podcast, and I thought it was fine. And I kind of like, it's fine, it's all right. And then I watched it with him, and I had a completely different experience because he had a different experience, and so it was a lot better watching it with him and seeing him go, oh, I understand these things now. These are things I feel. Yeah, it was really kind of really different.
I feel that about a lot of kids' movies. Like I used to go and see, kids' films before I had kids, but now I've got kids. I do save them up rather than going, I'll just watch it just because I want to see, Encanto or whatever. I'll wait to watch it with the kids, and it is it's a completely different experience.
Oh, Rich had that experience with Encanto as well at one point, and part of that as well. One of the sisters.
I love Encanto. So that song, that like the Pressure song, like that. I mean, that I watched it. I was like, this. I feel seen.
Yeah, because you're so strong.
Yeah, exactly.
You can carry 2 donkeys down the street. Well, we've got these 2 donkeys we need shifting, Rich. You wouldn't mind. I know you're repointing the house at the moment.
You can't really tell because we're on the podcast, but I'm like 6'6" and about 3 foot wide. So I do have that.
So you do have that, yeah.
Rather than 2 donkeys, I have carried 2 of our friends home, one over each shoulder, from when they were so drunk they couldn't walk.
Not me.
Not Dave.
Okay,
no, but Dave's only 5'5", so
I always got myself home every time.
But you're also incredibly beautiful, aren't you, Dave? That's what that's the one you've got. That's the one you relate to.
That's the one he's got.
Sort of appearing on a swing covered in flowers from out of the sky every day.
Yeah. Actually, I'm more like Bruno, to be honest.
That's exactly. We didn't talk about you.
I've got to have the hard job to turn this back towards Back to the Future.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
The third one, when the third one came along, were you hyped for it? And did it let you down at all?
I mean, it's sort of yes and yes. I think it takes you a while to get over the fact that they've completely ditched. They've just gone, we want to make a Western now. It's like, it's not really. It doesn't hop around as much as you want it to. But then I guess where else are you going to go? Because you don't want to go back to they can't go back to the 50s for a third time where even, it can be 3 Martys running around the Enchantment Under the Sea ball. So it kind of has to do something else. And it is good for like Doc to get, because Doc also is somebody who think, what Rick and Morty have had sport with. Why is there a scientist hanging out with a young boy? But it's, what's great about it is it's his redemptive story, isn't it? He gets to sort of fall in love and be happy. And then, you can tell they're having fun with it. But I loved Back to the Future 2 so much because it felt so exciting and clever. Mm. And I don't think Back to the Future 3 is.
No. Was it
it's not clever in the same way. It's not clever in the showy way that Back to the Future 2 is.
No. Was it a big playground film, Back to the Future 2? Do you remember that? Like after school, like had you seen it yet?
Oh, I thought you meant like pretending to be on hoverboards and
stuff. Oh, also that, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We were all, and when I went to the school disco, I wore like a red t-shirt with like a blue shirt over the top, like that.
Nice.
I was obsessed with
gilets.
There was nothing. Yeah, he's obsessed with gilets. Exactly. Yeah. There was nothing cooler in my mind than him waving to the people doing a gym class in the first movie. Like it's like, why is this boy waving to all these mums doing aerobics? I mean, presumably there might not be mums, but it's just. Do you remember that bit at the start of the movie? He's on the back about it. He's on the back of it, and he was like, he's just like. I think it was the idea of a guy who was so popular that even when he's in school, people who are not in school think he's cool.
Yeah.
So I think that was.
I do have the thing about Marty though, that he's definitely the kid that peaks in high school, right? He's definitely like.
Well, you see that in the second movie, don't you?
Yeah.
That's kind of like they kind of acknowledge that. you can't be that cool. You can't be that cool in sixth form and not crash hard post uni.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. You can't.
Flea gets the better of him. That's great. It's great to see Flea in a movie.
Yeah.
Flea, who, like, I actually think Flea now can act, but he definitely couldn't at that stage.
No.
Flea must just be one. They just must, must be one of their mates. Robert Zemeckis and Flea must be just buddies.
I never realised, but Elijah Wood is in Back
he's
to
the guy
Future Part 2.
He's the little kid. I think it might have been his first film.
I never realised that.
Well, the other thing you don't realise until I certainly didn't realise in 1989 is that Crispin Glover, being such, of course, a famous lunatic, I think was problematic on. It's also one of those movies where there's a lot of lore around the firings because Eric Stoltz obviously did the first, and you can see the footage of Eric Stoltz playing the first Marty, and then they shit can Jennifer and just bring in Elizabeth Shue and. Obviously don't mention it. I was going to say don't mention it. Would be mad if they mentioned it. But
Jennifer, you look very different.
Yeah, exactly. Winks to camera.
But also slightly the same.
Yeah, that's very much what they would do in the next film we're going to talk about. But yeah, they just seem to be like people, Zemeckis has got exacting standards.
There's also the famous ending, which is, we should go back to Snoops, whatever it's called, that they didn't really know what they were doing with the end of Back to the Future, so they made up the line.
I love that. Yeah,
it's your kids, Marty.
Yeah.
And then they were like, well, we have to make a sequel about the kids, basically.
Christopher Lloyd just improv that. That line was like, they didn't have a line. They did
Let's research that as well.
Because everything on Instagram now is, this line was improvised. And you're like, well, he improvised it and shot it with 4 different cameras.
Well, they improvised, apparently they did like 5 or 6 different lines. He improv 5 or 6 different lines that they shot. And then that's just the one that they happened to go with because they like the shots better.
Yeah.
And then, because they never planned to do a sequel. And then when they got the money to do a sequel, they were like, oh no, we've got to do something with his kids.
and Marty McFly, Michael J. Fox was absolutely delighted because he got to show his sketch comedy chops
and get paid more, hopefully.
Yeah, well, I don't know what I'm sure you get a pretty penny, but this is pre-Clumps as well, because obviously we know the world changed when Eddie Murphy, he changed Hollywood when he was like, oh, could it be a movie where I'm the only character?
This episode is brought to you by Temptations Cat Treats. Your cat will come running for the perfectly irresistible Temptations Creamy Puree and Temptations Lickable Spoon Cat Treats. The best time to feed lickable cat treats to your cat is anytime. Feed by hand for a playful moment, in a bowl for a creamy treat, or as a topper to make mealtime fun. Visit TemptationsTreats.com to learn more. This episode is brought to you by PetSmart. Stop by for Yappy Hour with your pet at PetSmart. Save $5 on walk-in grooming services like nail trims, ear cleaning, brushing, and more. No appointment needed every weekday from 2 to 6 p.m. And while you're there, Yappy Hour includes exclusive in-store deals like 25% off pet toys. Visit services.petsmart.com/grooming to learn more.
Vitamin Water Zero Sugar has great taste, zero BS, and obviously zero sugar. For those with zero room in their calendar. Zero patience for slow walkers. Those who get 0 hours of sleep on a Saturday night. Have zero filter, zero given, and zero interest in grabbing a plain, boring water. Grab a delicious Vitamin Water Zero Sugar today.
What has been your most disappointing sequel? So it doesn't even have to be a bad sequel, but you went in high and you came out.
I think it's going to be the one I'm going to talk about, but let me think of what have been the other films I thought this doesn't need a sequel. Well, there are films I love where the sequel has just tried to completely, like I love Caddyshack. Now, a lot of people hate Caddyshack, but I love Caddyshack.
This is the answer to the question.
Yeah, that's the perfect answer.
But Caddyshack 2, I think is
shite.
It's rubbish. It's rubbish. And again, loads of good people, but they're like, well, we haven't got Rodney Dangerfield, so we'll get Jackie Mason. We haven't got Chevy Chase, so we'll get Dan Aykroyd, or even Bill Murray. We just get another.
Bill Murray, haven't got Bill Murray. Yeah, they do bring Chevy Chase back, but they do bring Chevy Chase back. That's right. He's pretty terrible, and he's only in it for about 5 minutes. And
you feel like Caddyshack was I don't know if you've ever seen the film where Will Forte plays He plays the guy who created Caddyshack. He was like a Harvard Lampoon guy.
No, I haven't seen that.
Directed by David Wayne, and it's called it's like one of those titles the titles that everything's is called these days. It's like called A Stupid and Futile Gesture or something like that. It's every title has to be. Sitcoms especially are all called like, nobody thinks this is a cool idea no more. Wow, why are we watching 4 shows that all sound like that? But that's really interesting about they're all on set. None of them have really, Harold Ramis and Chevy and all these people, they're all doing tons of cocaine, and they're just, we'll shoot this thing and that might be quite funny. And then I think the same is true of Animal House. They just feel like a sort of, again, like a load of little funny moments strung together without much of a plot. And it was kind of, I think, lightning in a bottle. Lots of people think, shit in a bottle, but I think it's lightning in a bottle. So I think to try and recreate, it's the reason you couldn't do like an Animal House 2 was one of them. I mean, that and Belushi dying.
Yeah,
but, that didn't help, that one.
Doesn't help.
With Caddyshack 2, we had Nick de Semlin from Empire magazine. He picked it as his worst ever sequel on episode 1 of this season. And he, apparently the director of Caddyshack 2, has reviewed Caddyshack 2 on Letterboxd. And there's a big spiel about it if you want to find it.
Great. Yeah,
and he literally spills everything that was wrong with it or went wrong with it, and the people that were awful on it. And apparently the 2 people that were horrible on it, one was Chevy Chase.
Yeah.
And the other one was Jackie Mason.
Really?
Yeah, they were horrible to deal with. Apparently Dan Aykroyd, absolute sweetheart.
Everybody says he's lovely. Yeah. Everybody says he's meant to be a real gent. And also, insanely funny. He's just really good. Just really talented.
I just think of his episode of Off Menu where he just talks about his vodka the whole time.
Yeah, of course.
Good luck on your project, boys.
It's amazing, absolutely amazing. The fact that he's doesn't allow them to sort of stop. He's like, you've got an entire list. Okay, here's what's happening next. Oh yeah, but normally we talk about, we'll do that at the end.
It's brilliant.
Well,
I've
got Dan Aykroyd. I'm getting a free bottle of Crystal Skull vodka. So can't complain.
Yeah, he's the best thing in Caddyshack 2, isn't he? Like Dan Aykroyd's character.
Well, the rodent's awful as well.
Oh God,
the gopher.
The gopher. I love the gopher in the first one. It's so good. It's like the first one is such an odd.
Second one. It's like there's just no attempt to make it look anything other than a puppet.
Yeah,
when he does this little dance at the end, sort of that robotic dance. It's great.
When did you see the first one then? Because was there an era of these films that came into your life?
No, I didn't watch it kind of at the time. I didn't. So I would have. It would have been probably in the
film studies era.
Yeah, maybe it would have been around that time. Like I was like late, sort of like sixth form into uni. I got really into Saturday Night Live. I think it was probably around the time when the 20th anniversary happened.
Right.
So that was 30 years ago. So the 50th. So 30 years ago.
Your eyes just worked out that was 30 years ago.
Yeah, I've still got all the stuff. I've still got all the stuff here. There you go. That was the book they brought out, the 20 years of Saturday Night Live.
Oh,
and
wow.
And I was like really obsessed with it. And I had a CD-ROM of all sketches, because you couldn't. There was no YouTube or anything. So I'd sit in my house in university, in my flat in university, and I'd watch the CD-ROM of Land Shark and stuff like that. And I think so. I got really into all that. So I then went and looked up. I watched Animal House and Caddyshack, and just got really into all of that. Chevy Chase and Bill Murray, and especially that era when they, I knew Bill Murray because he'd been in loads of stuff, and I loved Ghostbusters as a kid.
Yeah,
really, really obsessed with Ghostbusters. But then when you go, they made another one. I'm sure this will be even better.
Yeah. I did exactly the same thing. So I was probably like teenager, like that sort of age, and I watched Fletch, and I loved it. And I absolutely loved Fletch. And then I did a whole thing where I watched everything with Chevy Chase in it, essentially. And before I realised he was a terrible human.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then I came to Animal House and Caddyshack and that kind of thing. And yeah, so I did almost exactly the same journey as you, but probably the
Fletch
same age.
Is great. I think I didn't see the remake, the John Hamm remake.
It's all right, actually. John Hamm's pretty good.
It's quite an odd one to make. It's a bit like, it is a little bit like, I'm not saying it's such an iconic character. And actually the character was in a series of books first. So Chevy was only playing a character, but it's like, it does feel like when someone's nailed it. Well, it's, I mean, it's a little bit like trying to do one of the characters of the work of the person we were about to talk about. You feel like they've done those characters.
Yeah.
You're not going to come in and do it. You know, there won't be reboots of those kind of films. So it felt quite odd. But I love John Hamm, obviously.
They did Fletch Lives, didn't they?
Which I remember not being as good.
No, it's not good. But actually, I think Confess Fletch, like the new, it's not really a remake. It is. I'd say it is a sequel.
Is it based on another one of the stories?
It's based on another one of the stories. But Fletch is a lot older, and yeah, it does. It is good. I really enjoyed it watching it. Like, it felt like it's definitely better than Fletch Lives. So it's worth a watch.
Yeah, I will. I'll check it out.
I just remember Kevin Smith was going to try and make a Fletch film with Zach Braff in the mid-2000s. Yeah, they were really trying to get that off the ground.
A Fletch movie.
And I was excited for that at the time because I bought into Kevin Smith a lot.
Oh yeah, I think people of a certain age, men of a certain age especially, bought into. I mean, Clerks blew my mind.
Genius.
And then Clerks and Mallrats. I really love Mallrats. I've not watched Chasing Amy, and I bet you, I was thinking about it the other day. Popped into my head. I thought there's no way in hell it holds up. Because there's no way in hell an early 2000s, late 90s Kevin Smith made a nuanced LGBTQ rom-com. There's no way he did.
Shocker, he didn't. It's got some good dialogue in there and stuff, but some of the points it tries to hit, I would say, hasn't aged well at all.
Yeah, definitely not. I remember him drawing the picture of like the Easter Bunny and that kind of thing, and I'm not going to. People either know what I'm talking about or don't. But I remember thinking, I bet that's aged like milk.
Yes, I'd say it definitely.
Not the movie Milk, of course. We're not talking about. I'm sure that's aged every bit as well as all of the other movies Sean Penn has made about people he's got no right to be portraying.
Yeah, they're trying to cancel that film now, so it's fine. Or that guy in America, something like that.
They're trying to cancel Milk, are they?
Harvey Milk. There's a boat. Yeah. There's a ship named after him, and they're trying to rename the ship. So Sean Penn and the writer Dustin Lance, they're trying to fight it at the moment.
Is it called The Milk Float?
It fucking should be.
Come on.
That would be so good.
Right, let's get on to that what we were talking about then, which is, Matthew, which is your worst ever sequel?
Well, this actually comes under the bracket of most disappointing sequel. It's Austin Powers 3, Gold Member. And
yes.
This was a film I was jazzed to see. I was so thrilled to see. And before we get into dissecting the movie in any way, I'll tell you that I was doing a show up in Edinburgh up at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival, 2002. I was doing, it was with a student production company for a university I didn't go to, but my brother went to. He couldn't do the show. He said, Matthew wants to be up in Edinburgh for a whole month. He'll go and do it. I did a quick audition for them, and I got this role, and I was doing this play, but I didn't really know anybody. So, I was feeling so depressed about the way the show was going. I didn't want to go and see other people's shows. So I was like, I'll get myself, I went out of town to like an out of town sort of multiplex cinema because Gold Member was coming out. We watched the first 25 minutes, half an hour, and the screen broke. They said, we're so sorry. We're going to refund you. You can either take a ticket for anything else that's on, or we'll refund you the price of the ticket. And because I'm like, incredibly sort of like, I couldn't, even though I was hating the film, I was like, I have to come back to the same screening tomorrow, same time, and start again. I couldn't even come in half an hour in. I was like, start again from the start and put myself all the way, because otherwise I'd feel out of sorts. I'm not good. One of the things I've realized as a parent is I'm not good with plans changing. And because it was only me, I wasn't there with anyone else. I could go like, it's fine. We'll just pretend today never happened. Tomorrow I'll go and watch this film at the 11:30 showing in this cinema in Leith. And it didn't get better with a bit of space.
No.
With a bit of space between me and the first half hour.
Yeah.
It's and I think certainly the first 15-20 minutes of it
is the best bit.
No, it's the most disappointing bit.
Oh, do you reckon?
Yeah.
Ooh.
I would say the bit when I thought you're just you're showing off and kowtowing to presumably some sort of someone who said, please do this. Britney Spears showing up.
Oh yes,
huge Britney fan. I think Britney's amazing. I think Britney's fantastic. I'm not going to be one of the many people who have knocked Britney, but she has no right. It's a music video for her latest
Boys.
single. Boys. Great song. There's no reason for it to suddenly happen 5 minutes into a film, which is about Austin Powers. Even if Austin Powers is there, kind of, roaring at her or whatever, it feels mad and weird.
You did the hand gestures.
That's what he does, isn't it? He does the sort of prowling tiger.
Yeah.
This is one when it came up. I thought, I don't remember this being that bad. And then I watched it like a couple of days ago to be ready for today, and I was like, oh, it's worse. It's way, way worse. It's so
really,
bad.
really bad.
I don't think I laughed once.
No.
There's no laughs in it.
The meta stuff, like, because then you've got Spielberg shows up,
and they definitely have more money on this one.
Yeah, but they're using it in all the wrong places. They could have made it a really big, fun. Like, what they do so brilliant in the first movie is skewer those early Connery Bonds, and also what is the name of the guy who dresses like, it's not Steel, is it? It's not. But,
it's something like that, isn't it?
What's the name of the guy? But it's all of those 60s, George Lazenby, kind of sort of slightly counterculture, hippie-ish, but also establishment thing. It does all that brilliantly, and all of the scenes with the henchmen and all of that kind of stuff is just brilliantly realised. Put a bit more money into that than going, hey, look, we've got the Osbournes to show up and do a naff cameo. It felt like a regressive step for Mike Myers as a writer, because as someone on Saturday Night Live, you go, if our sketch hasn't quite got it, bring out a famous person and the audience goes berserk. That works in Saturday Night Live because it's live and it's thrilling and it's exciting and it's surprising. But when you're on the 8th or 9th cameo, and I think Tom Cruise is amazing. I think Gwyneth Paltrow is absolutely fine. But they are not acting. Do you know when you watch those, they're on 15%, 12%. They seem to be having a bit of a giggle and they're sort of trying to be a bit tongue in cheek about it, but they're not performing. It looks like they filmed a rehearsal.
Yeah,
Cruise can do, like, you look at Tropic Thunder, or even like the sort of silliness of his character in Magnolia. He can do that. He could do a big Austin Powers and make it really good, but he's sort of just going, oh, shagadelic, baby.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, it's wasted. I mean, the only good bit that with hindsight is that it cuts to Kevin Spacey as Dr. Evil, and you go, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's the only bit that aged well. But I remember just thinking, this is just a total waste. And it's not fun in the way that the opening sequence of the other, when they play the classic and he's like dancing through kind of a Carnaby Street type world, that felt like it was, because also you're not satirizing the Hollywood remake. You're not sort of going, isn't it? It's not like Pee-wee's Big Adventure where you see, oh, this is how you're ruining Austin Powers. It's just like, famous people doing Austin Powers. That's kind of good. It's doing nothing other than showing you, hey, some movie stars know other movie stars, and it isn't surprising to see Tom Cruise in a movie. It might be unexpected, but it's not a big surprise. You might not have been able to go, oh, I bet Tom Cruise is going to show up.
Yeah.
There's no, I'm in the cinema, I've seen Tom Cruise in a film. You're like, yeah, fine, you can. And clearly they've got, it's one of those, they've clearly got everyone for 8 minutes. And so it's just patched together in a really disjointed way. So you're like, I could have got no concept of where is it where's it happening? Where's it occurring? What's the space doesn't work.
Yeah.
And every now and then a really nice thing will happen. Like the bit where you see the orchestra and he steps out of the screen and just dances through the orchestra and you go, that's sweet and magical. And that shows you what a great visual mind Mike Myers has. But there's so many the dialogue is just all other people's old jokes.
There's only one good bit, which is like Fred Savage talking about having a mole, where he just goes, yes, I have a mole on my face. I recognise this, and it's funny because I am, in fact, a mole.
Fred Savage does that very well. I'll give you that. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about Mike Myers' absolute pathological disgust by other people's physical deformities. And when I saw that, I was like, I've completely forgotten that happened, right? This is a movie that's got like a guy who's got peeling skin. He's disgusting. You've got a guy who's overweight. He's disgusting. He loses weight. He's more disgusting. You've got, people, you've got, and then you go
Dutch
back
people.
and go, you've got Dutch people, yeah. Well, you've got Dutch people. But then you go back and you think, oh yeah, there's that role that might be Wayne's World 2, where Kevin Pollak plays a character with a lazy eye, and Wayne can't. Is it? I mean, it might not be Wayne's World 2, but it's the bit where he goes like, he's looking over a contract. He goes, I'll just cross the T's and dot the lowercase J's. Funny joke, but it's predicated on this idea that Austin Powers, who the joke is, he's an ugly guy who's getting loads of women, right? Crooked teeth. He sees a guy who's a better looking guy than him, but has a mole on his nose, and he goes, whoa! He's like, it's like a full body physical revulsion he feels, and you go like, what's going on here? He can't handle it. It's really weird. It's really odd. I'm not saying Fred Savage doesn't do a lot with a bad role. I agree with you. I think that bit when he kind of goes, yes, I'm aware of, but it almost seems like he's both saying that and also saying, is this a good enough job? It's almost like Fred Savage himself is kind of editorializing on the movie, going, yes, I've been in 5 scenes. Every single scene, the same thing's happened.
Yes. Yeah. Can we not?
But there's loads of jokes where it's like, you're a cunning linguist, but I'm a master debater. And you're like, that's what your sort of unfunny uncle would say. And I know because I'm an unfunny uncle.
And is that the point of Austin Powers? He's supposed to be your unfunny uncle.
I think it goes too far into that. I think, allow myself to introduce myself from the first movie. Brilliant. They try and do the same thing again. Every bit is either a retread of a good joke from the first movie or just kind of borrowed humor.
It's got, most of it's got the borrowed jokes a lot in the same movie because what's her name? Foxy Cleopatra, the Beyonce role. She gets kicked in the face by Goldmember the same way about 5 times. Yeah. It's just like, stop falling for this, you stupid woman. It's not funny anymore the first time. It wasn't funny the last time either. Were you a big fan of those first 2 films, The Austin Powers and The Spy Who Shagged Me? Because in 1999 was my year of cinema. It's when I really found cinema. So that second Austin Powers, for some reason, fucking love it. It's got a big moment. That and The Mummy and all kind of weird films.
Yeah. I feel like I watched those movies and I thought, this is, again, not wanting to jump the gun, but again, I watched Wayne's World. I was obsessed with Wayne's World. They used to show just the individual Wayne's World sketches on BBC Two. Yeah. As like a TV show in itself.
Did they?
So it'd be like, wait, and it was mad because it'd be like they're all different lengths. So it'd be, from 4 p.m. to 4:13, Wayne's World. But they showed that as part of like Def 2 on BBC Two of an evening. And I was watching those and going, this is amazing. I didn't really even know what Saturday Night Live was or what the context of it was. And so when those movies came out, I loved them. And it's only years later that you watch them and you go, oh, they're losers. That isn't the aspect, if you're 10 or 12, I think I was when Wayne's World, the movie came out, you see that as a guy who listens to heavy metal all the time. Well, that's what I do. He's got long hair. That's what I sort of was growing. And he lives in a warehouse with his best mate who plays the drums. Yeah. This is the coolest, this is so exciting. And, to the point when I first saw a picture of Mike Myers and he didn't have long hair, I was like, what? But surely he's got to have long hair like Wayne. He's like, no, Wayne's supposed to be a dweeb. But I definitely was obsessed with that. I was obsessed with Austin Powers. Thought they were amazing. Had all kinds of like naff bobblehead memorabilia and stuff like that. I had loads of that because it was,
it was such a thing, wasn't it? Everyone was
such
like,
a huge thing.
Yeah.
And, Groovy Baby and Shagadelic and all that kind of stuff. And I haven't gone back to the first 2.
Or have I? I'm too scared.
Yeah, this is it. Watching the third one, I thought Now, again, this wasn't what I thought at the time, but I like to think that even as I'm saying it, I know this isn't going to be the case, but I like to think that the first Austin Powers is a bit more knowing about the kind of misogyny. It was like, it's a satire of 60s misogyny. It probably was just a misogynistic movie. And I think that, I think that's something that Beyonce's very good in it. She's really good in it, but she's not given a lot to work with. The female characters are either disgusting or they are sort of impossibly beautiful, but don't really say that much. And let's say very little about the Japanese twins scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I there's a bit. The only bit I thought I hadn't noticed, although I hadn't noticed when I watched it, is that he says twins, Basil, twins, and that is a paraphrasing of Twins, Max, Twins from Annie Hall. And I was like, oh yeah, another fucking perverts movie. Yeah. I was thinking, where's the phrase twins? It was like twins, because Woody Allen's trying to get his best mate, who he calls him Max all the time, to. I don't know, but he's like, I'm in bed with twins. Twins, Max, twins. But again, of course, Woody Allen wrote that line.
Yeah.
Woody Allen probably loved Goldmember.
He probably did. I've just had, I saw this twice when it came out. So I went with two different sets of friends.
So that's half more than I saw it. I saw it 1.5 times. You saw it twice.
Yeah. It feels like a film, when rewatching it, it feels like it was made in 2002, if you know what I mean. Like the jokes and the way it's filmed, like you said earlier. Was Michael Caine miscast as his father? The plot that Dr. Evils is his brother? I mean, they sort of plant that quite heavily. I think actually, Dougie.
If he'd showed up in the first movie, again, we're really rose tinting the first movie, but if he showed up in the first movie, you'd be like, yeah, of course, Michael Caine, what a great, and I think Michael Caine actually, again, is very good. He plays it a little bit eggier than I would like. Everyone talks about what a brilliant performance Michael Caine gives in the Muppets Christmas Carol, because he plays it with such a straight bat. Yeah. I feel like he could have done with playing it. But then when you've got everybody else going fucking cross-eyed or rolling around in a rubber suit, you think, if I don't do it, if I underplay it, I'll look like Tom Cruise in the opening scene. I look like I couldn't give a fuck about it. I'm just collecting a paycheck.
Well, I mean, I think he probably couldn't, and he probably was just getting a paycheck. He was doing a Jaws 4, wasn't he?
Exactly.
He was just taking the money.
I've never seen the movie, but I've seen the house it built, yeah.
Yes, yeah.
I don't think, for some reason, the mini-me stuff's not as funny in the third one as well. And in the second one, that was funny. I don't know. In the second one, I found that hilarious when I first saw it. It's like, it's a mini him.
Yeah.
And their chemistry's you can tell they've got good chemistry.
Yeah, they're very funny together, and Vern Troyer's brilliant. Yeah. And just the two of us is obviously really funny. And they sort of try and recapture that with the rap in the prison, the Hard Knock Life bit. And it's just not. It just isn't. It's just a retread of stuff that I think at the time would probably even at the time felt, this is getting a bit stale.
Yeah.
This is a character that's outstayed its welcome. It's refusing to kind of, Bond moved with the times, and it was sort of refusing to move with the times.
Yeah.
Even the times, I know it's set in sort of basically 3 different time periods. It's a guy from the 60s who goes back to the 70s to rescue his dad and bring him back to 2002.
I couldn't keep up where they were and what time.
No, I was lost.
They're also not asked about any of the stuff that Back to the Future cares so much about.
Yeah.
But the actual potential of time travel, it's just like we've got a car, it can time travel, you're in a club, there's no reason for him. There's no reason for him to be. And the
70s didn't seem that different from the 60s, to be honest.
No,
as well.
No. It's that whole, and also I don't think Goldmember is a funny character.
No, because his whole joke is he's got a golden cock, basically.
He's got a golden cock,
and he's Dutch and can't talk.
He's Dutch. He says the word toit
and Faja.
Yeah.
Faja.
And he eats his skin, which also I remember finding at the time. There's like, I don't know. There's something, I think he dials up the grossness.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is like, when every character around one character saying, oh, that's making me want to puke, you're like, maybe that's also true of your audience. Maybe I don't want to see a guy eating his flaky skin.
Yeah.
Even as a fucking joke.
Because there's always been rumours now. This was 2002, wasn't it? Austin Powers Goldmember.
Yeah.
Ever since then, there's always been, where's Austin Powers 4? Would you be up for it?
They sort of set Seth Green up, don't they, at the end?
Yeah, they do.
So they kind of leave it. I mean, they're not as bold as the Back to the Future series where they're like to be concluded or any of that kind of stuff. But they do kind of set it up. But I feel like what you'd have to do with that is you'd have to parody the gritty Daniel Craig Bond. That kind of, like you'd have to kind of parody that. That's what you'd have to do. You'd have to have him, you could almost have him at Austin Powers, like he's gone away for a bit and then you see him doing the Scorpion tequila thing on a bit. You could see that happening. Because even like that's the other thing as well. Like they do a Hannibal Lecter parody, and you go, that feels too late in the It feels too late in the day, doesn't it? To be in 2000, it just feels like you've got to. And not that I mean, when was the Scorpion tequila scene? Probably 10 years ago. Was it Skyfall?
2000? Yeah. Or was that?
It must be 10 years ago at least.
So yeah, sorry, it's not like my references are any more up to date than they are.
No, that's fine. But would it work now? A fourth one? Is there would it work in today's world? Is there a demand for it?
I don't think.
Do the kids know what Austin Powers is anymore?
No, of course they don't, because they weren't born in 2002.
They don't know what. Very rarely do my kids say "groovy baby."
Yeah. Oh, is this one you watch with your kids and they didn't know what's going on?
Yeah,
it's colourful.
I was saying, look, I don't know what's going on either, so don't worry too much about it. To be honest, I don't think the filmmakers know what's going on. You probably know more about what's going on than they do.
I think it made a lot of money, that second one, surprisingly, because it came out at the same time as Phantom Menace. And do you remember it had the great poster? If you see one movie this summer, it's going to be Phantom Menace. But if you see two movies this summer,
that's very good.
Come and see Austin Powers.
It didn't make as much money as you think.
What, the second one?
Yeah. Sorry, do you mean Goldmember or do you mean
I know the second one. The third one didn't do great.
Well, it made 300 million, so it wasn't that bad.
That's because I wanted to saw it twice.
Yeah, that's all you, Dave. That's all you.
I was one
and a half. Yep.
Is it Spy Who Shagged Me was the second one, wasn't
yes.
it?
Spy Who Shagged Me. Yeah.
So yeah, that made 300 million. So about the same.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I wonder what's holding back that fourth one. Maybe just...
He hasn't done a lot of... He did
the Love Guru.
He did the Love Guru, didn't he? Yeah, which I didn't even watch. I could tell. I thought... I mean, it's his... he's obviously got a real thing for Peter Sellers.
Yeah.
But that's not the... impersonating an Indian man is not the thing we should remember that made Peter Sellers a genius.
No. He did a weird TV series on Netflix a few years ago when he played multiple characters again, I think.
Did he?
Yeah. He kept that kind of quiet. But yeah, like you say, he doesn't do much. He turned up recently, Elon Musk.
He's Elon Musk. He played a completely fictitious guy in a scene that never happened in Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yes, I remember that.
One of those scenes where you're like, you read up on it, it's like, no, there was no one who said they didn't like Bohemian Rhapsody. They heard Bohemian Rhapsody, they said, well, this is an amazing, ambitious song. We are going to release it. So what... We could get onto Bohemian Rhapsody. So many bits of Bohemian Rhapsody that have been invented by the band, effectively, to be like, well, it's like, it turns out that they did have a big struggle, but they've added infighting, which never happened into the movie. They've added Freddie wanting to record a solo album. That's total bollocks. They're all recording solo albums. It's like, he's come away. They've added this conflict and drama that sort of isn't there.
It's that one where the band had too much input into it. Like there's a what's the Bob Marley one? There's a Bob Marley biopic.
One Love,
and it is basically written by his family. So he's a saint in that movie.
Yeah.
And it's not true. It's a very sanitized version. I think Bohemian Rhapsody's the same because the band basically had such a massive say in it that of course they weren't going to have anything bad about them in it, really.
Well, isn't there that story, possibly it's apocryphal, about Sacha Baron Cohen going for a meeting with Brian May,
yeah,
and then him saying, so obviously some big, the the big thing happens sort of halfway through. And he goes, what do you mean the big thing? He says, well, Freddy dies halfway through. And you go, no, Freddy dies at the end, right? He said, no, Freddy dies halfway through. And then the rest of the movie is showing how the band goes from strength to strength. You're like, nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to see you getting the bloke off of America's Got Talent.
Yeah.
And him joining the band for a bit. No one wants to see the bit where you play the national anthem for the Queen's Jubilee on top of Buckingham Palace. This is not what Queen, that's not what Queen's about.
No. You can tell because Roger Taylor made himself a proper ladies' man in that movie, and he's really ramming that through the whole film. I've got loads of chicks. Put that line in there.
But yeah, so he's in that. He shows up in Inglourious Bastards as well, playing a role that is, there are two actors who stand out in Quentin Tarantino movies. Mike Myers when he shows up to be in Inglourious Bastards, and Quentin Tarantino when he shows up in any other, any of those movies where you go, oh yeah, there's a dude in here who shouldn't be acting in here.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay, courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
Is anyone out there?
Another salesperson enduring the endless search. Exhausting. If you want to get right to the right conversations, you need LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Whether you're looking for new leads or strengthening existing relationships at your top accounts, get right to the right conversations with LinkedIn Sales Navigator. Try LinkedIn Sales Navigator now with a free 60-day trial at linkedin.com/trial. That's linkedin.com/trial.
Terms and conditions apply!
McCrispy strips are now at McDonald's. I hope you're ready for the most dippable chicken in McDonald's history. Dip it in all the sauces. Dip it in that hot sauce in your bag. Dip it in your McFlurry. Your dip is your business. McCrispy strips at McDonald's.
I've got another little cheeky question for you before the Dream sequel one. So, time to put the thinking cap back on. So, what sequel seems like a bad idea, but you ended up liking?
Oh, God, that's a really good question. What sequel should
I can throw some examples at you if you...
Yeah, give me some examples.
A lot of people bring some of the Fast and Furious in this.
I've not seen any of them, so I couldn't possibly say.
Blade Runner 2049, a lot of people didn't want that.
No, I didn't like that. Didn't enjoy that.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. My wife and I went to see it, and then we came away just going, I couldn't tell you what. I mean, we'd had a couple of drinks, but I couldn't tell you what was going on. And I was like, it's like, well, when you watch a movie and you're, I felt it a bit with Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol, where we watched that, and I was like, I couldn't at any point in the film tell you what was going on.
Oh, you can't.
But, I mean, this is quite a snobbish thing to say, but my wife said afterwards, it's like, right, that's a movie that like loads of thickos watch. And I was like, yeah.
This guy.
And this guy.
It's like, yeah. Like, why, you know, what's happened? What? I guess it's just that something explodes and then, you know, someone jumps off a thing and.
I couldn't actually tell you the plot of Ghost Protocol. Now we're talking about it, though.
What's the Ghost Protocol? What does it mean? It's a good sequel title because everyone remembers.
I know the bad guy's rubbish. I'm always disappointed by the bad guy, and it ends in a car park.
Was that not your evening after going to see it at the cinema? It ends in a car park.
All the worst films end in a car park.
They've blown the budget, and Tom Cruise has to have a fist fight in a car park.
You're joking, but that is the end of Ghost Protocol. It's in a posh car park. I can't remember. No, but you're right. Have you seen the new one?
No, I've not.
Okay.
No.
We can't have that.
It's we don't want to spoil it, but it's the first film that me and Dave have really properly disagreed about.
Really?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
The review will be out by now. Rich hated it and I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
basically. I'm not saying it was a world beater, but I enjoyed it.
But you liked it, yeah.
And I couldn't wait to get out of there.
What shouldn't have been good? No, I've not got a really decent answer for you.
Have you watched Puss in Boots: The Last Wish with your children yet?
No, but talking to Mike Myers, they love Shrek.
Oh,
they absolutely love Shrek.
Shrek 2?
You should definitely
love Shrek
watch
2.
Yeah, you should definitely watch Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. because
You'll cry, man.
it is not what you think.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a Dogma movie. Lars von Trier directed it. What do you mean it's not what I think? Is it about a talking cat?
It is about a talking cat, but
Okay, so
it will make you question your mortality and your choices as a human. Like, yeah,
honestly,
it's incredible.
Great.
It's about death and growing old, and you're not prepared.
Is it going to be another Inside Out 2 for me?
Yeah, it was for me.
Hanging out next to my daughter eating Haribo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
me and Dave watched it because obviously we watch all the sequels to the podcast, and we were like, "Oh God, we didn't even know there's a Puss in Boots 1, let alone a Puss in Boots 2," and we both came away from it like, "Oh God, I'm gonna
Do you have
die."
to have seen the Puss in Boots 1?
I hadn't. He had.
I had.
It's a standalone.
Yeah, kids. But yeah, I'd seen Puss in Boots 1. But yeah, Puss in Boots 2. We both came out of it.
It's life changing.
Does Shrek show up in it? Can I promise there's no Shrek?
They at the end they tease Shrek 5.
They do, yeah.
Right,
they sort of travel to far, far away, like in the end credits sequence. But
Shrek 5. Now, what Shrek 5 is they've redone Shrek, haven't they? They've changed his face. He's had a glow up. Isn't that
something like that? Yeah,
that's right.
At least a poster
Talking
or
of Mike
something.
Myers.
Yeah, that's it. He looks different, and he's got one of his kids is now Zendaya as well.
Yes.
But the voiceover, because my kids were like, love Shrek. They were like, the Shrek, I was like, the new Shrek trailer's dropped. They won't care. They've changed his look. They don't even barely notice it. But it went, like, the voiceover goes like, starring, Mike Myers, Cameron Diaz, Eddie Murphy, and Zendaya. Like, it's a cartoon, mate. Chill the fuck out. Yes.
Yeah. We're now in the TikTok generation, Matt, and that is...
Yeah, but come on. She's a bit green ogre.
Yeah. It's a bit mad. It's a bit mean.
It's just such a funny way to be. I mean, that's the Mike Myers influence, isn't it? Everything has to be an arched eyebrow and a saucy.
Yeah. How do you feel about Marvel films or Bond films? Franchise films, basically.
I feel all right about those. I haven't seen I've seen lots of Bonds, especially like the Bonds of my childhood. The Roger Moore, the Dalton, the Brosnan. So I've sort of that.
Were there any of those where you thought, like, I'm done with Bond, and then one came along and it sucked you back in?
AKA GoldenEye?
Yeah. I mean, no, I think because I was at that age, I was just like, Bond movies exciting. Bond movies thrilling. So I don't think wasn't particularly sort of fatigued by it. The Marvel movies, I can't be arsed. And the more I think, like, that's not even something I'm waiting for.
That's a fair reaction.
I just, I get it. The Marvel Cinematic Universe makes a lot of money, but it's just too big. Yeah. It's just too big for most people to get a handle on.
Yeah.
And so I just can't.
Especially if you miss a bit. There's a lot of homework there you've got to do.
And, I think I've been on like, Reddit or whatever, and it's like, this is the order you should watch them in if you're going to start and watch them. And you go like, who's got this kind of time?
The pandemic was the best time.
Oh yeah, pandemic if you had no kids.
Yeah.
This
guy.
Yeah. But no, that's it's very admirable, but it's not. I tell you what I did like, but I think probably most people don't think is good. The Edward Norton Hulk.
Yeah. Okay. Well, here we go.
We'll go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. That was a film I remember coming away from going, oh, that was great fun. And then afterwards reading every review of them saying, this is dog shit. Was that the one that everyone thought was terrible?
I think it's
was there another one after that?
There was an Eric Bana one, wasn't there? Before
that was the first one. That was the first. That was just Hulk. That was the Ang Lee making a superhero film, but people weren't prepared for and ready for, and that was including me. And he made it like a comic book. The problem was that the Credible Hulk didn't turn up for a good hour and a bit or something, and it's a bit of a mess. And then he fights a big water monster at the end, and you can't really see what's going on.
And the Ed Norton one did get panned at the time, but I think a lot of people have gone back to it now and been like, oh, do you know what? It's not as bad.
They are retconning that thing in.
Churning out now.
Yeah. That is now canon in the Marvel universe, Matt. That characters have popped up from that film in the last Captain America film.
Yeah.
Basically, Liv not Liv. It is Liv Tyler.
Liv Tyler, yeah.
Liv Tyler returns as Betty Ross for a small cameo. The bad guy Tim Roth has popped back in She-Hulk and Shang-Chi.
If you're the agent of somebody who like was in one of those pre-MCU blowing up universe type, you must be constantly on the phone to. It's not Stan Lee anymore, is it? But whoever
Kevin
Feige, but constantly going, come on, listen. I know there was I played a waiter in one of the Thor movies. Come on. Get me back in. Get me back in.
Well, I bet Chris O'Dowd, he's in the first Thor movie. I bet he'll be, or Dark World. Get him back in. Yeah, he's definitely. He's on a date with Natalie Portman.
Oh, yeah, great. He is. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They've got Chris O'Dowd on the bench somewhere.
Yeah, it could turn out that he's. Well, the other thing as well is there's from our world, Brett Goldstein, who showed up at the end of one of the movies and crouched down and was Hercules.
Yeah.
Is they're going to do a thing with that, or is that not?
They plan to at some point, but we're never quite sure. Was that weird to see like someone do that?
Yeah, of course.
Did you go and see it just for that?
No, I just saw it on the. I saw it on the
internet.
Okay.
Yeah, that must be really weird.
But yeah, it was very funny. The next time I saw him, it was me and Acaster, and Acaster got down on one knee to say hello to him, which I thought was very funny.
See, I just see Brett Goldstein and I was like, that's Super Bob.
Well, yeah, exactly. Of course. That's the bloke who does the 99 Club.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wild. It's wild that he's so he's getting so big in America and stuff now.
It's amazing.
I really love, there's a Netflix show called Shrinking.
I think it's Apple, isn't it? It's an Apple show, yes, because I've just finished watching The Studio and it's queued up to be the next thing I watch.
Shrinking,
watch it. It's incredibly good.
Yes, I've heard
Brett is
really
incredibly good in that as well.
Yeah, he co-created that, didn't he?
He's friends with Harrison Ford.
It's wild. Absolutely wild.
Anything can happen. Okay, let's get on to our last question, which is, what is your dream sequel, Matt?
So, now this is something I picked the movie Swingers because I thought
great pick.
I think they are, kind of how old are they? This is 1994, so they're 24 because they talk. Vince Vaughn's character says
96.
Is it 96? Okay.
96.
That would have been such easier math if they were 24 and 94. I would be able to do that. But yeah, so it was 96. They were in their 20s. And so we're talking now 30 years later, they're in their 50s.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they're the age that Vince Vaughn and John Favreau are now. They haven't gone away. So I think the idea of them being mid to late 50s, what are they up to now? Did any of them make it? Did one of them make it? Did God, what's the name of the guy from Office Space who's
Ron Livingston?
Ron Livingston. Did Ron did one
he get his pilot? Yeah.
Did Ron Livingston get a pilot and is now massive and and did actually Vince Vaughn burn out, or did John Favreau ever sort of stop being the kind of the schmuck? And is he, is John Favreau effectively John Favreau? Has he become? That's kind of what, they're all playing versions of themselves.
They are, yeah.
Presumably 3-4 years earlier, they'd all just moved to LA. They're trying to break into the business, screenwriting, producing, comedy, whatever. So yeah, I just think it would be a really fascinating. Or have they just, are they all? Is it like a kind of Four Seasons type thing where they're all going to visit the guy who got out of LA and now has a really nice life living in the Hamptons as
which should be Sue, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
which should be Sue.
Like,
this guy pulled a gun on some people. It's like that. I think that's a really interesting world. I will say one thing. I watched it today, and I've not watched it for a long time. And I would say it was a different time, wasn't it?
It was very much
their
a different
attitudes
time,
towards everything.
Yeah.
There's so many lines where you're like, oh, yikes. That's, very early on, John Favreau, who is a schlubby, schmucky guy uses really disparaging language about women. Basically, women are two things. I'm going to say this: they're either skanks or babies.
Yeah,
both things I think are just absolutely it's really weird, creepy ways to describe anybody.
Yes.
You're a skank or you're a baby. Babies we want to have sex with, skanks we don't want to talk to. That's kind of basically what it is. That's really, there's loads of stuff around, like they use the F word, which not, to describe homosexual.
Yeah.
You never get that nowadays. It's awful. There's the idea, they're so sort of machismo. But again, you're like, how much of this is them? How much of this is Jon Favreau?
Yeah.
And how much of this is them going, these are the kind of, because they are playing arseholes. Like Vince Vaughn especially is playing an arsehole.
Oh, yeah.
But is he an arsehole that you're supposed to delight in? Because
he's an arsehole with a lovely car.
And by the way, the most insanely gorgeous person Vince Vaughn, the sort of Vince Vaughn's descent into looking like a normal person. I mean, I'm sure if you saw him in the flesh, he looks amazing. But he's James Dean good looking in that first movie.
That jawline is incredible.
Yeah, the cheekbones, the jawline, everything. And then you get a guy where he's like, so Vince, what would you like to do now you've become a movie star? Oh, can I do a movie where I eat 4 dinners? Yeah, you can.
4 Christmas dinners, please.
A movie where the main plot of it is me eating four big dinners.
But there's no one that can quite talk like Vince Vaughn. I'd like.
That's why he's so great.
He does dialogue so well. He really does.
To the point where you're like, I was watching it again and going, dude, does any of this, like, I wonder if any of the stories are real or any of it's improvised. Yeah. Like, it's like when he tells the story about the bad or the good audition, really, he tells it so brilliantly, it almost feels like it's like
real.
Jon Favreau's gone, we need a thing in here where you can
imagine it's real.
Holding chords. And he tells it, and it's just amazing. I think he's brilliant. I think the depiction of male friendships is brilliant. And I think probably, I don't know because I wasn't there, but the depiction of LA in the early 90s, probably very, and there's clearly bits where they've got, the people in the musical double act in the diner are real. They're real. The Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, that was a huge, like the whole thing of the swing scene was huge. I think that's what they call the movie Swingers, to sort of cash in on this, because they're not really in the swing scene. They just happen to be, they've kind of soundtracked it with that. And
the soundtrack is good.
Soundtrack's amazing. It's got, it's got some phenomenal old swing stuff and pick up the pieces, and it's got some great songs on it. And when I was a kid, when I was 16, 17, we were wearing bowling shirts and calling each other money and all that kind of stuff.
I bet you were, yeah.
Of course you were, despite the fact we were like going to, we watching Goodfellas and Casino and Reservoir Dogs and Swingers and all of those.
Because Swingers, they do like a Reservoir Dogs kind of walk, don't they? Where they're all
there's the homage, definitely.
Yeah, in slow-mo.
Yeah, they basically say, Reservoir Dogs is derivative, and then do the Reservoir Dogs walk. It's great. It's really good. They also have a great line where they're like, you'd have to be mad to shoot in a casino, having the first sort of quarter of the film is all just set in this casino.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not without its charm, but I watched it and I was balking way more than I expected to.
I'm worried about, because I love Swingers.
This is it. I love it. I think if someone said, what, it would probably make my top 10 movies, or it certainly would have done 24 hours ago. And now I'm like, that movie where they harass basically a sort of Deliveroo guy in quite a racially problematic way. Why am I saying quite? Yeah, they're racist to a guy. I don't know why I'm dancing around the idea of there's a scene where they racially harass a guy, and that's a comedy scene. And it's mad. Yeah. And you go, this is, you see, to use a Swinger's phrase, you see why people double down. Because life is a series of going, that thing that happened in the past that I was really into can no longer be spoken about.
Yeah.
That's growing up. That's moving on. And it's accepting that you go, no, that can't happen anymore. You can't have outwardly racist, outwardly homophobic, intensely misogynistic character. Oh, hang on a second. No, yes, of course you can. It's called Kill Tony. Just realised. Actually, sorry. It's a movie that's designed to be played today.
Yeah. Did you see this when it came out then, Matt, in 96?
Yeah. So I worked in No, so I couldn't have seen it because I wasn't working in a video store in 1996.
You were working in a video store? How have we just gotten to this?
I was working in Apollo Video. So I watched it there. So that would have been 97, 98? 98.
Wow. I'm so jealous. I would have killed for that job in 97, 98.
Yeah. Of course. Of course.
I found that film while at uni, and our course was like, I was doing video production, so I wanted to make things, and the whole story about swingers is glorious, is because it's so off the cuff, like you said. A lot of it is kind of improvised. The scene when they're on the side of the motorway, whatever, and the car's out, just off scene, they're being told off by the police that they can't film there, and they're just doing it quickly. Basically, Doug Liman's trying to buy them time.
Do you know what? I thought that about that scene. I thought there's a real kind of fun
zip.
Yeah, there's a real fun, and it's all one shot as well. There's loads of bits where it's all one shot, and I guess it's just they were great.
They couldn't afford lighting, so they just put higher watted light bulbs into lights to light things better.
Great. That's what I liked about it as well. Is it felt like here's a movie that some mates have made about what it's like to be their mates.
Yeah,
and whether or not you like, whether or not they're good people. That's it. That's as a piece of filmmaking, it's a really interesting and it felt like that was what was happening. It's a little bit later than obviously the kind of Spike, Mike, Slackers and Dykes era, but it feels like a continuation. I mean, again, it's Miramax, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can't really talk about Miramax now without going fucking hell, but horrible and disgusting. But if you grew up in a certain era, to see the Miramax logo, you were like, great, here we go.
Yes.
Whether that's going to be
Dogma or
Dogma or any other, exactly.
Quentin Tarantino's.
Or the Tarantino movies. And you go, yeah, but obviously it's completely disgusting. And I've got nothing positive to say about that, but it felt like at the time, that was the coolest, was the coolest thing you could see before a film started.
Yeah. We can talk about one of the greatest scenes in cinema history is the Mike's phone call.
Amazing.
When he goes through the whole relationship in a matter of 3.5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's the best scene, is it? In the film?
It's amazing. Well, I think there's two great answer machine scenes in it. The first one is really early on, which is Mike checking his answer machine and the answer machine consoling him. And I remember seeing that and going,
I love that bit. I really love that.
It's the only bit of like surrealism or otherworldliness that it happens in the whole film. So it's not, I thought this will set the tone for it'll be an odd, wacky, kind of, Paul Rubin-esque world where things talk to him, but it's not that. But I love that. But then again, all one shot. It's just him wandering in and out of the shot, making these phone calls to this poor girl that he's tying himself in knots. And the bit when he basically effectively he's talked to her once.
Yeah.
She's given her number and he effectively breaks up with her over the phone. Oh my God. So good.
It's not you.
They never call her again. I think I like that scene because you feel like there's the girl winning. The scene where Vince Vaughn talks to a woman and then rips up her phone number in front of his mates and says she's got a fat bum.
Yeah, that's not great, is it?
I think we've all got that friend like Vince Vaughn, that Trey character, though. I think we've all had that person
definitely
been on a night with his characters.
Where he drinks a bit too much and shouts at the waitress, and you go like, the next day you might be going, that was quite funny when he did that, but I don't know.
That's it. We've all got that mate, and that's the mate you need to pull aside and say, stop being a dick.
Well, we've got to talk about it now. What's that mate doing now? Is that mate the guy who you go like, oh God, he's put another fucking Facebook status up? Is he that guy? Is it like has he found the love of a good woman and become completely turned his life around? And he's now
a priest or something.
Is Vince Vaughn a priest? Is Trey a priest? And Swimmers too. But I feel like that's actually the kind of roles that Vince Vaughn plays quite a lot, isn't it? The sort of, the harassed dad who also wants to have a good time. The old school role, that kind of thing, or the Freddie Funkhauser role of just someone who's like, he's a bit naughty, he's a bit cheeky, but no, he's actually got a life and responsibilities. I'd love to see that gang doing that now. What's happening to them?
What was that? What was that Vince Vaughn noir show that you got me to watch?
Bad Monkey.
Bad Monkey. That's good. He's very good in that.
What's that on?
Apple as well.
That's Apple.
You've got a lot to watch on Apple.
This is it. I've got the subscriptions burning a hole in my pocket. I've not watched Severance 2. I've not watched Slow Horses. There's loads of stuff.
Slow Horses is amazing.
There's a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I think they got offered a Swingers 2 and they decided to make... Have you ever seen Made? Their second film.
Yes. Yeah. Which I think is right for the time.
Yeah.
I don't remember it being very good. It's the same sort of thing. But I think it's right for the time to not go immediately and make another Swingers 2. Because what are you doing then? Them getting their first movie or whatever? It feels a bit too... I feel like now's the time. There's been enough time has passed.
They could be living like Hollywood's changed, like this TikTok world that they have to kind of audition differently. I don't think you can audition. It's all about likes and getting clicks and views and stuff.
It's trade dating an influencer.
Yeah, something like that might be really
down
good.
That road.
Or I don't know if you want to introduce new characters, or I don't know, but I think
you know what you should introduce to. I would say. A little bit of diversity wouldn't go amiss in that movie now. There's almost no women who have any agency in it. And this sort of, so you could bring in, and you feel like by this point they would have met some women and hung on to them for longer than a conversation in a bar. And so I think that would be, you know, obviously, of course, you then get the Daily Mail saying they're making an all-female Swingers, and people say you've ruined my childhood. But yeah, no, I think it would be interesting to see they're grown-up men. I'm not talking, you know, and not as soon as I said that, I was like, well, it's going to be like the movie Grown Ups, which I've got a lot of time for David Spade and Chris Rock and Kevin James and all, you know, Adam Sandler, but I think a grown-up version of what these ne'er-do-wells are doing now would be fascinating.
Yeah. I think they've got to try and make it the same way, though. And I think
definitely.
Guys, you've got $10. Get out there.
Doug Liman's going to do it and be arguing with the police while they just...
Doug Liman as well.
Which is mad as well, isn't it? Because he didn't really do... Was his next film Go?
Yeah.
Is that his next film, which I really enjoyed? I think that was his next film. Really liked that. But then he went off and, you know, like Favreau and Liman are just, you know, complete juggernauts. They didn't, you know, whereas... Kevin Smith, he felt was just like he was obsessed with doing that. Even when he made big movies, they were his sensibility. I don't think you'd watch Iron Man and Swingers and go, "Oh yeah, they share similar DNA." Whereas I feel like Kevin Smith, who was kind of around at the same time doing that sort of thing, even Tarantino.
Yeah.
You go, the stuff you're doing in Reservoir Dogs, you can still see in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Or
because Doug Liman, it was Swingers Go, and then it was Born Identity. Yeah, that's a big movie, isn't it? And then I don't think we're going to get... What?
Then was Jumper.
Was Jumper next, was it? And that was Mr. and Mrs. Smith next, wasn't it?
These are all bangers.
And then your favourite film, Jumper.
Yeah.
Jumper,
and then,
of course.
Obviously, like Edge of Tomorrow, they're doing a sequel to Edge of Tomorrow, aren't they, at the moment?
Well,
or it's in pre-production or whatever they're saying. So yeah, maybe that's what he's busy with.
But I'll be up for seeing it, Matt. It'll be brilliant.
Those were Matthew Crosby's Unequal Sequels. Dave, we've finished the series.
People can't see me celebrating, but this is it, baby. Yes.
We finished the series. Yes. And what an amazing one to finish on as well.
Yes.
Quality.
We were holding out till quite late in the day for Matthew Crosby. And bless him, he committed to the cause. He promised a date. He promised us a time. He said, I'll be there. And I went.
And he was brilliant as well.
He was there. He was brilliant. Proper film geek. Film studies at university. Maybe not with more recent stuff, we found out. But, you know, having children gets in the way of watching movies.
It does a little. Yes, it does a little.
That's why I'm never having children. But brilliant picks. His best, Back to the Future 2. One of the correct answers, would we say, in that answer?
Yes.
It's very popular.
I still don't think it's better than the first one, personally, but, you know, a lot of people do.
I do.
It is a popular answer for best sequel, absolutely. I think he's the third person to pick it now.
Yes, I think so.
But it's also one that we've had as worst. So
always exciting.
Does that a minus point?
No, because movies, there's no winner or losers in this game of this. But I loved how he brought a fresh view on the sequel of Back to the Future 2. Because like I said in the episode, we do sometimes, when people pick the Aliens, the Terminator 2s, the popular ones, the Before Sunsets, me and Rich, for you listeners' sake, have to try and think about new ways of talking about it or asking new questions.
Yes.
And Crosby just brought his own take, and we just sat there and listened to it. And
we did not have to do any work at all.
It was great. But then his worst sequel was Austin Powers in Goldmember is the full correct name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's fucking shit, isn't it?
It is shit, isn't it? Like, I was quite surprised when he picked it. I was like, I don't remember it being terrible.
No.
But then when I rewatched it, I was like, no, it's really bad.
Do you know why?
It's really unfunny.
Because in 2002, I think I was 17 and a fucking idiot. So
I was 21 and a fucking idiot.
It all balances out. It all works beautifully. That film was very much a piece of its time in 2002. Not just for that when it was filmed, but for the person that was watching it, me.
Yes.
But that was a fun discussion. And then we talked about Swingers, which after his conversation, I was like, is Swingers not like a bad movie? Because Swingers is a great movie. I love Swingers. Problematic. It's more problematic than I remember it being.
Yes. Yeah, it is. Because I watched it, most of it, yesterday. I didn't quite get to finish it because I was watching it before we recorded. Yeah. And I had to stop watching it to come and finish recording.
Oh, okay.
So I might finish watching it tonight, maybe.
Because I remember Swingers for just the genius that it is, that it's so low budget. And it looks so good.
300,000, I think.
Something mad like that. And the way it got filmed, like off the cusp. Like,
I think it made permits. 61 million. That's an incredible return, right? I don't know those numbers are actually accurate. I think
it sounds believable. I believe you. It launched a lot of people's careers, John and Vince and Doug Liman. So it did a good job. And his idea of bringing Swingers back now, that crew
to see
back,
if they're still arseholes,
or if they've made it, or if they're still struggling to make it, or the difference between the trying to make it then and now. Yeah.
I was wrong. It made 4.5 million, by the way. Sorry.
That's very different from 61
That's very
million.
different, yeah. And the budget was 200,000. So I was just wrong all round.
All round, Rich. You did a very Donald Trump kind of thing there. But if you just carried on, I would have believed you.
Yeah, you would have. But the listeners wouldn't. That's the thing. The listeners would have known, and they'd have written in and have had to have read it out in the roundup. So, may as well get it out of the way now. I was wrong.
Okay. I like hearing that. Do you want to say that about another film we've reviewed recently?
No, I don't.
Think so. Thank you to Matthew Crosby for coming on our show. It meant a lot. Thank you for picking brilliant picks. If you haven't checked out Matthew Crosby's work, then where have you been for the last how many years? He's been producing TV shows, writing TV shows, podcasts. Pappy's Flatshare is a brilliant one. Go check it out. If you can get to their live shows, go check out his live shows. He's the writer on The Last Leg. He does, what did he do? Hypothetical as well.
Hypothetical, yeah. A creative Hypothetical, yeah.
Also, Rich, he's on a radio show. Do you want to get it right now? Not to his face.
It's Radio X, and it's the Sunday morning show. And I know this, right? Okay. So, you won't have heard it if you haven't listened to Another Slice, but...
is that where it is? I can't remember in the episode.
Yeah, it's in the Another Slice bit.
Okay.
So, people won't have heard that unless it's in the Another Slice part. But what I said to Matthew was, it's one of the few times when I say to my son, this person's on the podcast, and my son's like, oh, that's exciting, because my son really loves Radio X, and he especially loves that Sunday morning show, except I called it XFM, which is what it used to be called, and I said the Saturday morning show, because we were recording, it was like 10 o'clock at night, and I was really flipping tired.
Anyway, go listen to that great show with him and Ed Gambe. It's a lot of fun. And you can, there's a podcast of it as well, so you can go listen to that. But yeah, Matt's brilliant. And yeah, go check him out. He's easy to find.
Absolutely. And if you want a bit more of Matthew Crosby, then go over to Another Slice. You can hear me do a massive cock up over there if you like. if you find that kind of thing funny, and I know a lot of you do, then get yourself to anotherslice.com/unequal sequel, where for just $2.99 a month, you can join our super special Slicers Club and get our subscription service where you get a sequel to all of our interview episodes, what we call the sequel sessions. So you get extra bits to all of those. You also get Disenfranchised, which is another podcast where we talk about movies that should have had a franchise but didn't, and Box Set Mentality, where we watch a whole box set of movies and tell you all about them. in our own inimitable way. And inimitable means you can't copy it. Because we're so unique. Yeah. So, you've completely thrown me off of where I was now. But anyway, if you want to let us know what you thought of Matthew's picks, then get on the old social medias. We're on all of them, apart from the bad place. You know where the bad place is by now. It's the one that used to be a bird, and now it's little Chrissy Crossy. And we don't go on there because it's full of lunatics and bad things. But we're on all the other places. Just type Unequal Sequel in there and you will find us. Let us know what you thought. You can leave a comment on Spotify. You can leave a comment on YouTube. You could also leave us a review. We'd really, really love that if you could. 5 stars would be amazing. Just tap us out a little message on the reviews and we'll read it out in the end of month roundup. It absolutely means the world to us, especially when you tell us we've got sexy voices. That's our favourite thing.
Oh, please leave some of them.
Yeah, definitely. More of those, please. Mm-hmm. So leave a message. Don't forget to subscribe. This is the last episode in the series for now. We will be back in October time with series 9, in which we will hit our 100th interview episode, and you will get to finally hear Dave and I's best, worst and dream sequel. And we will have a special guest host for that episode as well. Mm-hmm. So
Jason Statham.
Tom Cruise. Who knows who it's going to be, but we will have a special guest presenting that one, and you'll get to hear both of our sequel choices that I know a lot of you have been asking, because we've had messages. So I think that's it, Dave, isn't it?
That is all things.
Oh, I know I've forgotten. The email. If you don't do social medias, you want to get in touch with us, unequalsequel@hotmail.com. Drop us an email and we will read out what you say in the roundup, because we love you lot. We do. And we love what you want to tell us. And even if you tell us we're rubbish, we still read it out in the roundup.
As long as it's 5 stars. This is the official end of season 8. Season 8.
Yeah.
Officially season 8. The unofficial is next week. We will do a bit more of a soppy roundup about everything. Best of. Some of the best bits.
Yes.
The bane of my existence and why did I start doing them, basically, but you're getting them. You're getting them. I've got nothing else to say, so it's a goodbye from me. Bye-bye, and it's a goodbye from him.
Bye!
See you on the next one. See you to this one. Have a great week. Bye-bye.
Oh, nearly lost my voice in the bye for a second then.
I was so fucking pumped. That was the end.
I was going to say, it's because the end of the season and my bye voice is like going, oh, that's enough.
We still have to do one more for the best of.
We do.
A nice roundup of the whole series.
Yes.
So if you've got any best bits,
remember it.
Let me know.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. If you people listening have got best bits, tell us now so we can put them in the best bits.
Now.
Definitely. Yes, now. And also, we can put them in the podcast awards entry as well.
Also good. Okay, good job, everyone. Thanks.
Here we go.
New Phineas and Ferb is here.
We're back, baby.
For 104 more days.
I know what we're gonna do today.
Of summer vacation.
I am ready for summer shenanigans. Let's do it. Oh, yeah.
All right. We're gonna bust Phineas and Ferb once and for all.
Are we gonna do this again?
New inventions, shenanigans, innators, adventures, and songs.
Brand new summer vacation.
New Phineas and Ferb starts June 5th on Disney Channel and next day on Disney Plus. On DisneyPlus.Disney.com.